we're going to talk about happy little acids and bases world. This is a man who discovered a little known fact about acids. He was born in 1859 and died in 1927. He proposed a couple of theories regarding acids and bases. Now, he was the one who noticed that if you have an acid, that you would have hydrogens that are dissociating into the water. So the acid contains a hydrogen, and the hydrogen actually gives up an electron to the other element. So the other element becomes negative, where the hydrogen ion is positive. So you have this hydrogen ion in solution. So just a common way which you can write it is HA dissociates into a hydrogen cation and an anion of some sort with a negative charge. So here is a real-life example of hydrochloric acid. So Arrhenius proposed that if you put hydrochloric acid in water, you're going to get a hydrogen ion and chlorine ions. Okay, so remember the hydrogen ions. An acid with more than one hydrogen is called polyprotic, but most acids, if they have two hydrogen ions, you have to remember that they do not lose both hydrogen ions. They only lose one of those hydrogen ions. Let's take a look at Arrhenius bases. Now, Arrhenius proposed that if you put a base into solution, it's going to dissolve in the water, and you're going to get hydroxide ions in solution. So a typical base, according to Arrhenius, if you looked at the formula, you would say CNaOH, and you could say that this was a base just by looking at the compound, and you'd know that this is a hydroxide ion. So you have NaOH becomes an Na, a sodium ion, and a hydroxide ion. So if a base has two hydroxides, it will lose both. So this is the difference between Arrhenius acid, where an acid will only lose one hydrogen, but bases will lose both hydroxide ions. What types of chemical reactions can change a toxic chemical into one that is less toxic or non-toxic? So I want you to think in terms of acids and bases, and we will get to the answer for this when you get back to class. So let's take a look at this here. So let's take a look at neutralization. Neutralization is the word we use for double displacement reaction that happens when you have an acid and a base that react together. So you might remember this from grade 10, but whenever you have a hydrogen from the acid combining with the hydroxide from the base, you're going to get water. So the leftovers we join together, and we as chemists just call them a salt because it is an ionic compound that normally forms because you have a metal and a non-metal that combine. So here you have sodium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid. So you have the hydroxide and hydrogen combining to form water, and the leftovers is just salt. So let's take a look at the salt is normally dissolved as an aqueous ion. So here is what the total ionic equation would look like right there. Because H2O, you have to write the subscript as an L. Okay, so but we don't write it as an net ionic equation. Okay, so the only thing that you sometimes have to look out for is when you are producing a gas like when you put baking soda and vinegar together, so you're producing a gas. So in summary, Arrhenius acid increases the concentration of hydrogen ions in water, and a base increases the hydroxide ions in water. So you have to be able to identify Arrhenius acids and bases. So make sure you are able to identify those.